think that goes for any industry, right? People could say, like, wow, who would want to be a journalist right now? You know, who would want to be a journalist because they're being by our president of the United States, you know, we're deemed as fake news media, the MSM, the mainstream media. I see that all over social media. So let's go ahead and get into what's going on with Sinclair and now how journalism schools, we're talking 20 plus across the country, are coming out against Sinclair and saying, wait a minute, that whole Deadspin article that came out that had you guys clearly, so Sinclair's a media group, correct? And they own a bunch of different news stations across the country. We are not one of those news stations, but they own a bunch of different ones from all different affiliates, Fox, NBC, CBS, the list goes on and on, ABC. And so there was this Deadspin article that came out, correct? And you guys jump in at any point and help clarify this.
Yeah, the video went viral, and essentially it has your local anchors, and they're reading a station promotion, talking about, and if you actually listen to the statement and read the statement, it's not overly that controversial for what is actually written down, right, and what is spoken. But I think it's the way that it went about is that it came from corporate headquarters to all the local anchors that you must read this word for word with no changes, and we're going to roll this out on your local station as a promotion. And that caught a lot of people off guard, so they did the mega mashup, which you will also see for various, you know, what we call them in the industry, kicker stories, the cat stuck on the roof, whatever, because we get a lot of stories from all places. Sometimes they don't correct the copy, which is what the written word is, which is what the anchor reads on the prompter. You know, it's at the end of the show. There's not a lot of nuance with it. Sometimes it just goes in there, and then Kimmel and Conan O'Brien and these people will do these mashups. It's the same sort of idea, but done with a different statement that has a lot of political undertones, people believe. So when you actually see it, maybe we can show it because this will immediately jog your memory. I think a lot of the anchors, a lot of people in journalism, a lot of people in media said, I don't think that we've ever quite seen this done this way before. I've been doing this for 10 years, not that long, but not yesterday. Walt, you even longer.
Probably a little more than 10, yeah.
Have you ever seen or heard of anything like this?
Well, let's talk about what was said, though, in the messaging, in that Sinclair commercial ad, if you want to call it.
This is a little bit different. I can explain this in a second.
But in that, it was basically going along the lines of, hey, we aren't as Sinclair stations, we aren't fake news. We aren't like those other stations that are fake news. So basically what people are saying are going with what the president is calling us as fake news media. We are anything but that. And so that's why J schools are saying, wait, you can't be going and basically, if you can't beat them, join them, right? Is that the understanding you have from this?
Sinclair has a history of putting out more conservative news and creating these scripted, just scripts that they give out to their anchors and their local affiliate stations that they are required to read on air. And it's this feeling from the anchors and the reporters that have to read these that this isn't the way local news should work. It shouldn't come from the top and be disseminated through us. It should come from our communities. We write it up, and in an unbiased way, we deliver that message. But if the same message is being delivered across your entire broadcast company, that's where people are having this issue. And so what we just saw, Chrissy put up on screen, was Sinclair's way of mitigating the Deadspin ad that was put together by putting an advertisement on their station that before the Deadspin article or before the Deadspin video explains that what you're about to see isn't reflective of the Sinclair Broadcast Group in general, meaning we're not part of this fake news system. So I want you to watch this video and know that we're not part of it. But in this video, it's going to tell you that we are fake news. And then at the end, I'm going to come out and reiterate to you that we're not fake news, just so that we can drive this point home, even though we did our due diligence by showing both sides of the story. That's what happened.
Are we listening?
There are a lot of moving pieces. We're not listening yet, but Chrissy's still trying to find the video.
She has the video ready, so go ahead.
Do it.
She doesn't have the video ready. But if you guys haven't seen it, if Joe from Digital, if you could put the video in our comments so people can have access to it, that would be really helpful.
Joe just ran out the door. He
can hear us.
Sure.
JJ, what's up?
Can you put the Deadspin video into the comments, please?
Okay, so the executive chairman of Sinclair is coming out and obviously defending Sinclair and saying, using the quotes, corporate news journalistics responsibility promotional campaign. So basically just trying to promote that they aren't fake news. What's the issue in that, right? I guess from my understanding is what Sinclair is saying, we're just trying to say that we aren't fake news. So my question was when I saw this, because remember when CNN recently put that campaign out saying we aren't fake news either, basically? Putting if an apple is an apple,
Right,
an
you're
apple
right.
is an apple, banana, I see an apple, banana is a banana, apple, an apple. There was this whole campaign basically doing the same thing, saying that they aren't fake news, but it was the way in which this one was done, where so many news stations across the country had the same exact copy, and were these talking heads for a large media group that have people in arms.
Sinclair owns this station and nearly 200 others. It forced dozens of anchors to recite the same political message, word for word. Now Sinclair is trying to control local news stations in 72% of American homes. Tell the FCC to stop the Sinclair merger.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
It's extremely dangerous to our democracy.
The misleading ad you just saw focused on a brief promotional message that simply said we are a source for truthful news. It ignored thousands of hours of local news we produce each year to keep you informed. The ad was purchased by a group known for its liberal bias, and we hope you won't buy into the hysteria and hype.
So
Right.
again, that was in response.
To the video
To the
that played
Deadspin.
in between the intro and the outro.
Okay, so let me. Okay, let's take this story out. Let's take politics out just for a second to understand, because I love the messaging. Okay, this is important. If someone calls you on the phone to do a poll, right? Hey, do you want to do this quick poll? And you start hearing things like, what do you think of this amazing new product by Coca-Cola?
Right,
Okay?
amazing.
Yeah. So there's something called
They're
push
leading you.
polling. Yeah, there's leading information. So when they follow up, so what happened was they said, hey, we are Truth in Media, and we're going to run this very misleading ad because we want you to see both sides. So here's the ad. This misleading ad. So they're adding in adjectives that are actually slanting what they want you to think about the message, or at least what they think about the message. So, you just have to be careful. Again, take Sinclair out of this and take politics out of this. This is your classic example of whether it's about Coca-Cola or if it's about the park down the street and you're trying to collect a petition and you don't want it, you're going to ask misleading things leading into that so that hopefully you get the response that you want. You have to think about the structure of the message and the end result that they perhaps are trying to go for, because in my opinion, when I hear adjectives that can lean you a certain way before and afterward, that's not necessarily just running the ad.
Right. So then we have people in a situation, which you heard inside of the ad that we just saw play, where Sinclair is in a position to buy out another broadcast company, and what that means for the market share. So if you're not familiar with that term, it means the amount of television stations out of the total number of television stations in the country that they would own. And with a purchase of Tribune Media, which is another broadcast company, they'd own something like 74%.
200. They'd own
200
200
markets.
stations
Exactly.
across the country.
But they would have a presence in 72%
And the concern is
of
that
the
they have,
televisions in the United States.
And
So
that's
does
a
that
big
startle
impact.
you? What's the
Exactly.
question here,
Right.
right? What are we asking? What do we want you guys to chime in about? Does this startle you, right?
Right.
Does this make you go, okay, well, what is it that we are getting when we are watching television in local markets?
Right. Would it
I know
make you
it's weird 'cause
change
we're a
the
local
channel,
market.
or would you tune in to see what they have to say? I think that's what I'm curious to know.
And I think so all of these are moving parts that chime in, but as media people, what I'm curious about is how would you feel if you had a script handed down to you and said, you're reading this today word for word, and then you can go home for the day. When I get up there, when I'm doing the weather forecast, I say whatever I want, for better or worse, right?
Right.
And there's a freedom in that, and there's a relationship that we have as weather person and viewer that when I'm telling you, I think this is a big storm. That's my opinion over all the history that I've been covering this stuff.
Well, big enough that J schools, journalism schools across the country, 20 of them are coming out with this letter signed by the
Right.
deans of all of these journalism schools. Again, some of them, University of
ones.
Maryland College, Louisiana State, University of Georgia, Temple University, the list goes on and on, University of Oregon,
Syracuse has
NYU.
one of the most
Syracuse,
robust
one of
programs.
the prominent journalism schools in the country. And they go on to say, and this is a piece from the letter, one of the tenets of American journalism and one of the foundations of American democracy is that news reporting serves as an independent voice free from government censorship and influence. Moreover, American news consumers have come to expect that news professionals cover news rather than advance the business or political interests of news organization owners.
So that brings up Dan Cooper's comment, and he asks, isn't it our job to do what the boss tells us to do?
Correct.
Technically, it's part of our job, but then you have to wonder, as journalists, we walk this fine line of one, remaining unbiased, two, remaining truthful to what our moral compass is. And if that doesn't align with your station's interests, then it's up to you as a journalist to choose whether or not you want to work for that company.
Well,
these anchors are in a problem where their contracts limit their ability to leave that station group and impacts their ability to get a new job at a different station because of non-compete clauses.
Right.
how is that statement, how would that affect you going, it wouldn't affect me going out on a story. I'll read the statement if that's what the boss wants me to do, but it doesn't affect how I'm going to go out and do a story about somebody.
But doesn't it affect your credibility in the eyes of the viewer that is now watching this?
In this day and age, what is credibility when you look at the spin Fox News puts on stories and CNN puts on stories? Haven't we already crossed that bridge in so many ways?
And we have commentary pieces.
Sure.
You have
I do
commentary
commentaries
pieces,
as well,
which
but
is
it's
your
labeled
opinion.
but it's labeled as commentary.
Right.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm saying this is not bridging any new. I don't see this as new. And if I have to read that because the boss says so, I have a choice of quitting or reading the statement. That's what it comes down to.
Right.
Or I read the statement and then I'm going to go out and do the story I was going to do anyway. I don't know that the statement that I have to read says that I'm going to go out and put a conservative spin on every story that I do. Right. I don't know that it says that we're going to do that or not going to do that.
It just says we're not.
So if that's what the boss at corporate wants, you do it or you quit. And then you go out and do the best journalism piece you can do. That's what I would do every day.
It's just so different than what the anchors are coming forward and saying, whether it is whether it is under an alias or saying, I don't want to be on record saying this, but at the end of the day, it made me very uncomfortable to have to read that on air.
Oh, I can see the uncomfortability in it, but at the end of the day, I have a choice. You can fret all you want, but at the end of the day, you either read the story or you say no, and then you leave that station, and then that's what it boils down to. I mean, to me, I got bigger fish to fry than that. It's a big fish, and it's, oh my gosh,
losing of a job.
All holy art thou journalism. I'm still going to go out and try to do the best story I can anyway, whether corporate wants me to read that or not. Rob?
I mean, it puts everyone in a tough spot because, you know, at the end of the day, you need a paycheck.
Right.
And I mean, let's just be honest. There's lots of things you do in your job or your life that maybe you don't enjoy or believe in, but you end up just doing it. Now it's different with journalism because viewers and readers expect you to do something. The expectation is that you're not being told what to do, you're following the story or what have you. So I think the reason why this has become such a big story is because the relationship with the journalists and the public is now perhaps taking a turn, and we're trying to figure out where we stand on that.
So we want to hear from you guys. How do you feel about this new bit of information? Is it new news to you, or do you think that this has been happening for a long time, and now that it's coming out, how will that impact your choice of where to get your local news? We want to know. Comment below, and maybe we'll revisit this tomorrow.
Maybe. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more stories just like this one, all you got to do is hit subscribe.